The first time you launch FileMaker, just like many other applications that you're using, it's probably a good idea to get familiar with the different preferences that are available to you. You can open up your preferences under the FileMaker Pro menu. That's if you're on Mac, but if you're on Windows, you'll find the preferences icon underneath the Edit menu. So either way, you open up the preferences dialog, and there's only a few things here that you should really concern yourself with. You'll notice that you have 5 different tabs across the top. I'm just going to go through a couple of these settings to show you some of the ones that you're probably going to use more often. We'll skip over some of the ones that you may not use that often or ever at all. So first, it opens up to the General tab. And you'll see in the General tab that we have a couple of default settings already chosen for us. The first of which that I'm going to point out to you is how many different recently opened files you can use. If you work with a lot of different files, you'll probably want to use the recently opened file option, which allows you to not have to open up a file or find it on your computer or even find it on your network if it's hosted on a server. Here it allows you to choose how many different files you want to use. So for example, we say 10, and when I go under my file menu to recents, we see I've got up to different 10 files, all the most recent ones that I've been using lately. For me, when I'm developing in FileMaker, I almost always just use my recent file dialog. The other thing is username. Now this one's kind of a hidden option. You'll notice that in my system, which is going to be different from the one that you're looking at, that I've chosen the other option. By default, your username will be the system username. Now this is something that's going to come more into play in the security system, which we're going to talk about later. But what I like to do is go into my preferences, choose other, and type in admin. Why do I type in admin? Well, because FileMaker databases, when they're originally created, automatically have a default account name called admin. They also have a password, which is blank, which allows us to access the databases using just admin and blank as a combination. And all files, including all the exercise files we're using in this course, happen to log in automatically with admin. So since when the user is prompted with this dialog, when they log into the system, it automatically puts the username in the account, I've decided that it would probably be useful for me to put in the most commonly used account name into my username. So if you select other and then type in admin, you'll be able to log into databases as a developer more easily than if it just puts in your system name, which is something that you're almost never going to use as your account name. FileMaker also can help you manage when updates are available and new versions. And this is a good idea in case there's security patches or different features that maybe weren't in the version that you have. I like to keep those application options by default, the Notify Me options that you see on the bottom of the screen here. Over on the Layout tab, you'll notice that what may be different from the version that you're looking at is that I have not selected the Add Newly Defined Fields to the current layout. On your computer, you may see those selected, and that's the default that ships with the product. But you'll find after not too long that by simply defining fields in your database, you don't want them to have to show up on the layout that you're on. This can be very inconvenient, and after you've got your databases all polished and they look real nice, simply going and adding a field that you might just be using on a script or somewhere else will show up on your layout and mess up all your design. So although it helps for maybe the first couple hours where you're building a custom app, it's really not going to help you much after that. So I strongly recommend that you don't select the Add Newly Defined Fields to the current layout. The other behavior, which is kind of interesting about FileMaker, is that it's a database. So every time you add something to the database, it doesn't ask you if you want to save. This can make new users to FileMaker nervous, but all you need to know is that when you go in and make a change to your database, if you commit that action, which is what I just did there by clicking outside the field, it's automatically saved. Now I can go back in and commit it again, and it's saved. Some users get nervous about that. And what you can do is you can go into layout mode and click on this little pencil icon here, and you can uncheck the Save Record Changes automatically. This way, when users are in your database and they make a change, once they commit, they're prompted to save the changes to that record. Now, this can get rather annoying after a while, so you're probably going to want to turn this off. But the other thing that you do notice in the preferences is that whenever I go back from layout mode to browse mode, I'm getting asked if I want to save the changes to my layout. That's another thing that we'll see under the preferences, specifically under layouts. You see this option here, Save Layout Changes Automatically, Do Not Ask. Personally, I prefer to be reminded that I've made some changes when I was in layout mode, and I can always choose to not save them. So I like to keep this one not checked as well. Memory, you can leave everything as default. Plugins, these are things that are made by third parties that extend the functionality in FileMaker. If you have questions about plugins, see the plugin manufacturers. And finally, there's this new feature in FileMaker which allows you to save your account name and password logins to the keychain. And when you save those to the keychain, you might be connecting to non-secure hosts. One of the big focuses of FileMaker 15 is making sure that you're locking down your databases and that you're not connecting to hosts that might not have encrypted connections. If you choose to connect to a FileMaker server that has an encrypted connection, you can save that connection here in the permitted hosts. Like for example, if I try to upload this file to FileMaker server, you'll see that I get this message, FileMaker Pro can't verify the identity and so on. So what it does in that case is warn the user that they might be connecting to an insecure connection. But if the user says, nope, I get it, that's my server, I'm in control of it, I don't mind, you can always say, add this as a permitted host, and this is where you see the permitted hosts. You can select them and delete them from your list if you've made a mistake. So just like with many other software applications, preferences are something that you probably want to check out the first couple times you open the application, and then you can just really leave those settings set as you start to work with the database moving forward.